welcome. This is the May 23rd meeting of the Landing Commission. It has been requested by one of our members that we consider saying the Pledge of Allegiance before meetings, which other committees and commissions do in town. So I'm just asking if you folks are comfortable with that. If so, I am.
I think I remember it.
Hmm?
I think I remember.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Richard will sing the Star Spangled Banner.
Okay. Hello, Deborah.
Hello?
You are first on our agenda.
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
What's that?
Thank you for being here.
I don't have a lot of answers for you, though.
Well, it's okay.
You want to go away out?
You want me to lock the door? No?
I can lock it.
Sorry, that's wrong.
Or the training?
So you had a lot of questions about the Michoud, and we don't have a whole ton of answers about them. It's at the town farm right now. This is the canoe. It was burned by the Wampanoag tribe and their residency. We're trying to get it moved from there, put in the water at Hicksbridge, and then find someone who will host it until River Day, so that it will be in the water. What we didn't know is that you can't store it outside of water because the wood will crack. And so once it's made wet, it has to stay wet. So it's going to go from wherever the host site is for the month of June up to River Day for the festival, and then it will not be on display where I thought it would be, because it can't be out of the water. And so we have to find a home for it for the rest of the season, and that's not clear where that's gonna be, but we're working on it.
It's a big river.
Yeah, well, it's not the fact that it's the river, it's that we were hoping it would be somewhere that people could go and see it. And so it's that, where can we put it, that it's accessible.
Yeah, and
and
if it's in the water, you
and that it's in the
probably
water.
don't want it too accessible.
Right,
Does it need to be submerged?
not until the winter,
Oh, so it just
Just
needs
needs
to
to be
sort
in
of
the water.
float?
right.
And how about bailing it?
That's not the top of mind. I think the question really is, where is it gonna be and who's gonna be in charge of it?
Well,
Is
I
it-
was just gonna
Is it to stay in Westport for its life?
That's their hope.
Oh.
Now, I was not sure that that was the case. I thought they might want to take it back to where the tribe members could more easily access it, but I think that's not their intention. But it's very hard to say for sure, because
Yeah.
things can change,
Right.
and different people have different thoughts about it at different times, so it's been very fluid.
something I would offer, we have no real jurisdiction over the waterfront part of Hicksbridge Landing. So we can't offer that. But
Yeah.
There's one in front of you, I put one right on the table.
But across Hicksbridge, there is a green park and a pretty scary rip-rack
Oh, yeah.
down to very shallow water, which is pretty calm most of the time. Even if there's a north wind, it's so shallow there. People couldn't get close to it, and it would be difficult. It would not be easy to climb down the rocks to bail it. But, and at the moment, you're not supposed to park, but we'll be talking about that later.
Okay.
But that might be an option for us to consider. We do have jurisdiction over that.
But you also need somebody needs a mooring permit too.
Right. Right.
Yeah, well,
That's,
yeah.
So that in some ways is also the question will be whoever is kind of in charge of it would need to get the mooring and would need to be responsible for whatever
Right.
caretaking it needs.
How long is the dugout?
16 feet.
16?
Yeah, you can still
Good.
see it, it's at Town
Yeah, it's
Farm.
too bad there wasn't a tank about 18 or 20 feet long that you could flood, you could put it in the tank.
Well, I mean, there is I don't know how often, whether the constructed wetland ever goes dry or not,
It does.
so that
Yeah.
wouldn't be good.
No, and also, I mean, if you put it in there, you'd have to get
Get a
a
crane.
crane to get it out. I mean, I don't think that's really a permanent
Yeah.
home.
Well,
So-
if you want to think about that, I would say at low tide, there's maybe 6 to 12 inches of water there. So it would be sitting in the mud at low tide, so it's not going to move much.
Yeah,
And, but we'd have to check with the harbor master about it.
Right.
And it wouldn't be easy to get there. You'd have to get in a dinghy or something and row over, or be a rock climber,
right. Yeah, that seems
so.
challenging in itself. So anyway, but they are going to paddle it at River Day, at least for a ceremonial paddle, and then,
Just tie it off to the wall or something,
Yeah.
pull it up on one of the
Yeah.
slipways. Oh, good.
So
That sounds
that-
good.
and
I
that
think
they'll
your phone
be in their
number
full
down.
regalia, so it'll be pretty cool to
Mhm.
see them, so.
Mhm.
And that's as much as I know about the fate of the Mashun. It got completed more quickly than we anticipated. They had fewer volunteers doing the actual burning and scraping than they had anticipated. But it was very, it worked out well, and the town farm is restored pretty much 100% at this point, so that's nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
I had asked about, you had talked that they had intended to have a cooking fire in the parking lot. Is that off now?
I think that the fact that they would have had to apply for a permit is an obstacle beyond their desire to get a permit, so I don't think they're gonna,
So there'll be no cooking?
I can't get a permit for them
Oh,
because this is what I was told by the Board of Health agent. He called me and said that if they wanted a permit, they could apply, but I can't apply for one for them.
so we're not planning on open fires in the parking lot or on the landing? Well, that makes things easier.
Yeah. Yeah. So that makes, and also they did a lot of cooking and a lot of people ate for the whole residency.
Mhm.
And I think they're also gonna be in their full regalia, and in some ways it just doesn't lend itself to cooking over an open fire,
Mhm.
so. So that's where we've landed as far as I know, as of today.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
So have you completed all those signatures from the back of the application?
Cindy Wilson's taking care of that, and I
Okay.
don't know whether she's finished all that.
All right. Well, I think that we already approved the
Yeah.
date and
Can't read
the event as soon as we got that form, so it was,
Okay.
and it sounds like it's gonna be easier now that
Yeah,
the cooking part is, and the boat storage and stuff is out of
Right.
it. Good. Anything else you wanna tell the public before,
no,
because we are regularly watched. No, we are, it is amazing.
I think that's it. Yeah, I think that, I hope people will come to River Day. It's gonna be exciting. There will be native vendors, and also we have 14 nonprofits that will be there, and some other folks, and actually a woman who makes hand-tooled wooden ornaments is going to make a commemorative ornament for the Mission design that we
Hmm.
did for our posters, which I have here. And she won't be selling them, but she will be providing us enough to give them to all of our sponsors.
Mhm.
And they're gonna, I think they'll be really nice. It'll be based on this drawing.
Great.
Yeah, yeah,
I will say for the public that I did go to the burn, and it was impressive to see what they were doing, and that
yeah.
this was something that was done, maybe the 16th century or
Yeah.
something?
Yes.
I mean, this was before metal tools.
Right, and,
Oh, I'm not sure.
and the burn at the end was scraped out with quahog shells. and that's how they got all the charcoal out.
Mhm.
And that was the last day that they were there. I went, and a little girl who was covered with charcoal came up to me and said, "Do you know how to do this?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I think I can figure it out." And she said, "I'm going to show you because I'm an expert." So there were kids getting involved, and that was part of the idea, was to get the community
Oh, good.
involved and sharing stories. And we are making a documentary film of all of this. And we'll do the same at River Day, and then it will all be brought together and provided to all of the partners in the partnership, of which there were many. It's us and the trustees and the Land Trust and the funder, which is a company from, I'm going to say Mattapoisett, called El Knife and Company, and the local cultural council.
Right. While you're sitting here, because it sounds like it's a little bit out of your hands as far as where the machine goes, but what do people think about just mooring it in shallow water at Emma Tripp? Because that would be easy for someone to park and go and bail it, and it would be easy for the public just to wade
look
into
at it.
12 inches of water.
I bet you'll find it up the river.
You,
It'll
well,
get borrowed. There's
I know, I
there's
think
no
as soon as-
security.
Yeah, who's
You know,
gonna
there's no-
babysit it?
well,
Yeah,
but
there's
there's
no real
other boats
security
there.
Yeah.
If you chained it to a cement block, it's going nowhere. I mean, there's other boats that are moored there.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
You can get a mooring permit there?
I have seen boats moored.
Hmm.
I'm not sure they're permanent or
Yeah.
not.
That's a
But,
good idea, because I mean, the public could go and see it, and if they wanted to take
And then
it.
they'd learn about it in the
Yeah.
trip too,
Yeah.
so.
yeah, and I think
And we
as soon as
They're
somebody
okay with it.
would try to paddle that away, I expect it'll roll over on them. I mean, it is just a round log. So the people, I don't know how the people paddle that thing, but they must train.
Yeah.
'Cause-
I'm sure it is challenging, and it's still, well, it weighs almost 1,000 pounds still,
Right,
so it's not like anybody's gonna pick it up easily and do anything
right,
with it.
yeah.
So
I
the
think
kid
that's
gets in it and rolls it over and has an accident, then where are you?
It's not on us, it's on whoever has the
Yeah.
mooring permit, just like any boat, right?
I think that's a good idea.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, if they can get a mooring permit there and don't, and they wanna
Yeah.
use that location, I'm
Mhm.
okay with
Yeah.
it.
It's a possibility, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk to
Right.
Chris.
Well, let's, since we may not meet again before you have to make that sort of decision, because I expect they'll probably put it on a truck to drag it down there.
It's gonna get on a truck to get to the Hicks
Yeah, I mean,
Bridge.
it'd be a long paddle, but, I
And,
don't know.
well, we're
And they're
having
gonna paddle down to Hicks Bridge from landing, aren't they? Oh, or they're just coming
so,
up, they're not
so they're
paddling
gonna
down?
go, this week, it's gonna arrive at Hicks Bridge, and it's gonna get paddled up to a home that's only just north of Hicks Bridge, that it can stay until
River Day.
just before River Day, and then we're gonna try and move it to another home that's close to the head, for a day and a half, and then get it to the, so it may have to be towed that in between, because it just depends on how well it paddles, nobody knows yet. But we'll find out on Thursday, and we will have a safety boat with
For an
them.
incoming tide.
You need a lead keel to keep it from
Yeah, you should have seen,
outriggers
a
or something.
professional rower this past Sunday was not able to row against the tide at the head.
Oh, I'm not surprised, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, he was just in a rowboat, he wasn't in a shell, but
Yeah.
I was like,
With a
oh.
load,
And
yeah.
he just held his place,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Yeah,
And that wasn't tide, that was fresh water
That
coming
was-
down.
it was
from
current,
the
yeah.
Wind,
Yeah.
the rain the day
Yeah.
before, yeah.
Right, well, actually, I would like a motion to be okay with it being there so that this can roll along.
so that I can go and ask.
Yeah,
Being amateur,
yes,
provided they can get a mooring permit.
yes. Is that a motion?
That is.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Like,
Okay,
There you go.
I'll report back when I have more knowledge.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Yep.
thank you, thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming in.
All right, Mike, you're up. For our viewing audience at home, this is Mike Mosier. local Boy Scout, who's helping us out at the head of Westport.
So you emailed me a bunch of questions regarding our previous thoughts of cementing in the railings, but then you emailed me again saying that ice might not be a problem and that we could probably just drive the railing right into the ground. My question is, are we still want it removable for storage purposes?
Well, just to fill everybody in, as we were thinking about this, and I had some concern about ongoing maintenance of taking it in and out, and if something shifted, would the parts fit back together again? And then I remembered that for easily 10 or 20 years, Dan Tripp, the previous owner of the garage, which is now at the Warwick spot, he had a couple of pipes driven into the mud right on the wall next to the slipway, which he tied his boat to for years. So I called him up and I said, Dan, did ice ever move those? He said, no, it never moved those. And that was 30 years ago when things were colder. So I don't think we've got an ice problem.
I don't think so either. I think it definitely just got a lot easier. But but
That's a good thing.
my next question though is it would probably be the easiest way to drive the railing into the ground was to still make it pipes in the ground and put the railing inside the pipe, so the railing would still technically be removable, but we still want it in 10-foot sections, so that way for storage and stuff, if need be. Would you like that option? I think that I could easily do that. Probably be easier for me to do that than make it all one piece.
Yeah, I had sort of thought this whole thing was going to be modular anyhow, that they were connecting things.
Yeah, but so what I was gonna do, I was gonna make it, after you said you wanted it to be 10 feet for storage, I was gonna make it 3 10-foot sections,
Mhm.
close together like a little gap, and then rather than 4 vertical posts, it would be 6, 2 for each section.
Oh, but maybe now we don't have to do it if it's just a longer piece of pipe.
It's up to you if you still want that ability to take it out for storage, because either way, the easiest way for installation would be to drive pipes into the ground and then put the railing inside those pipes, because you can't really drive the railing into the ground the way like I really want to is
Right.
what's that thing called? That just a post. Yeah, it's
A weighted.
yeah, right. It's just take the pipe and
slides
you
up
can
and
just
down and- yep.
Pound it.
pound it right in, but you can't really do that if the railing is attached to it.
Right. So, and are you thinking that there would also be cement to keep it sturdy?
If you say there's no need for cement, there's no need for cement. Did Dan have any, and Mr. Tripp have any cement for his post when he had them ordered?
No, but he was well into the mud.
Right, I
Against-
can,
And against the
Yeah.
wall. I
I-
don't know if you
Yeah.
need it or not.
He said
I
that
don't-
he used some sort of pneumatic tool to pound them in.
okay.
I was not doing it by hand.
I'll talk to him and get some more information, see how
Okay.
far those are in the ground and everything
Right.
like that.
I mean, I mean, there are codes about this,
Right.
so it really needs to not wobble.
Yeah, you did mention that in your
And-
first email.
So, so it seems, and so where it needs to be really firm, thinking about it, is at the surface. In other words, you know,
So it can't.
when if this is the pipe and it's that far into the mud, this end's not gonna move when I do this.
Right.
It's gonna move up here.
Right.
So it seems like it needs some sort of collar, so it's not just a piece of 2-inch pipe pushing against the pavers.
It also
So-
depends on how much of a fit, a snug fit, would be the railing inside the pipe, and also how far into those pipes the railing is sitting. If I have that railing sitting 3 or 4 feet into the pipe, then it ain't probably gonna move too much. But that also depends on, well, that's a lot of material there, and
Right,
how far in I'm actually really driving those pipes into the ground.
yeah.
So,
And you'll be able to find that out by I mean, I did pound a threaded rod about 1.5 feet this past weekend in 2 different places, because I had to tie down this tree that was floating down the river.
Mm.
And I was surprised, there was a little bit of resistance first, and then it just,
right
just
in.
gone. I was like, oh, oops.
How
And-
big is the metal you're gonna use for the railing itself?
Probably around 2 inches. I have it written down here somewhere. Should be 2 inches pipe. I
Yeah,
have
it seems like something
Yeah.
you can get your
There's a
hand
code.
around enough.
Yeah.
for it.
And basically, I would say if it's the same diameter as the pipes that you see at the watershed,
Yeah, that's what it's gonna be. It's the same diameter because that's like the code for
Yep.
railings and stuff. It's gonna be probably, I think it's gonna be at least 3 feet high, 2-inch diameter, and then like the pipes are always gonna be a little bit bigger in diameter, so that way they can fit the railing inside the pipes.
so in other words, you're thinking about not using a post hole digger and somehow excavating something and then having a cement down at the bottom. You're thinking about just driving them in.
I'm thinking about just driving in pipes now after you sent this email here,
Right.
and then just putting the railing right on top.
Something to maybe consider would be just off-site, make a 1x1 mold or something, or as big as, say, 2 of the pavers out of wood,
Okay.
and put this in the center of it, pour cement, and then when you take those pavers out, put that thing back in and put the pipe through it. So it's got this big bearing surface at the top, you know what I'm saying? So
If
that,
you can't pound it,
huh?
if you can't pound
No,
it
no,
in.
you'd still pound it, but what I'm saying is there'd be a collar, basically, on the pipe. I'm not explaining this
Creating more
well.
drag if it starts to wiggle,
Right, you're basically stabilizing,
or it comes out of the mud.
yeah, right where it comes out, because that's where it's gonna wanna wobble.
And it's gonna be on the downside, the lower side of the stone wall, right? The retaining wall there,
It's gonna be along that whole
Yeah.
stone wall. It's gonna be
at the base of it, not at the
yeah.
top
It's gonna
of
be
it.
right along
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so I thought, yeah.
Yeah, so in other words,
Okay.
there would just be this collar that's around the pipe at the surface of the
Okay.
mud.
All right.
And so that there'll be a couple of pavers that won't go back.
What about, but if the pipe was tight against, like, when the railing went into the pipe and it was like a tighter fit,
Yep.
wouldn't that prevent wobble there as well? Isn't that
Not-
necessarily
yeah,
the
you have
same
all
thing
this
that you're trying
leverage-
to?
You have all this leverage up top.
Well, how high is this block then? Is it flush with the ground?
Yeah. But that would be at the top.
But how would that change your wobble? How would that stop your?
Because it's sort of like when you step a mast on a sailboat. You know, the base of the mast, you know what, you stepped a mast on a sailboat because you worked at trips.
Yeah, no, I've owned a sailboat.
Okay.
I've done it before. Yeah.
Right. So if you didn't have the deck step, like some boats that just steps down at the bottom, and you have stays, that mast can move. But if you have the deck step too, that thing's not moving. I mean, you don't even have to put the stays on right away. It stands up by itself
Okay.
because that collar of the deck holds it in place.
Hmm.
And I mean, worst case scenario in any of this, if it does start to wobble, it has occurred to me that we could somehow anchor it back into the stone,
Right. Yes, there is a way we can do it. When I spoke to Wayne Manchester, he said that there was these things you could drill into the side of the wall and bolt it to it and anchor the railing to the stone wall.
Mm-hmm.
So that was also a possibility
Another way to
of
fortify it,
of keeping the railing there, but then you mentioned trying to like
Right.
prevent ice and all that
Yeah.
and make it removable.
Right.
That's kind of wasn't really a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a possibility if that's something to look into probably
Yeah.
for me.
But why don't you, once you've sort of thought through this, because it seems like that would be, you just have to pour 3 of them,
Right.
and you would just use a piece of pipe with some wax paper around it so it didn't stick to get the hole exactly right. And then you just, either you pound your pipe in first and then slide that down over it, because the buried pipe is going to be maybe that far above the surface.
Yeah, it'd only be 2 or 3 inches probably
Yeah,
on
and
the
then you
surface.
just slide that hat over it and
Mhm.
then put your railing pipe inside it.
Yeah, yeah.
Something like that. Cool.
Yeah, and then if we do go and want to remove the pipe and store them somewhere for the time being, I'd make probably caps or something to go on the pipe so
Yeah.
no debris goes in there. And mark like paint them yellow or something so
Yeah.
people can see them and won't be
I
too much
think
tripping.
just leave it in place.
I leave it just in
I
place.
think that'll be easier for you. It should be cheaper, less pipe.
Yeah, definitely.
You
I
don't-
mean,
You don't need
either
bubbles.
way, the way I'm gonna have to do it is probably still gonna be able to be removable. So you have the option if need be.
Okay, but,
Um,
so now there'd be, instead of 3 supporting pipes, there'd be 6?
Yeah, originally I was gonna do 4. I could still go with my old idea and do 4 pipes, standing
Mhm.
pipes, and make it all one piece, but it'd still be removable. So I thought might as well just go back and make them 10-foot sections. So if they are gonna be removable, and for whatever reason we have a crazy storm, and you guys are just like, all right, why don't we just pull the railing to be safe?
Mhm.
You can store it.
Yeah.
There'll be manageable pieces.
No, we could always, even if it was big, if that craziness happened, we could pull it out
Yeah.
and put it in the constructed
I s-
wetland.
I still like the fact of it being 10-foot section because it's also easier for me to handle when I go to install it as well.
I would just hope that we have fewer uprights, if there's a way to do it. If the-
You do want fewer uprights?
If, like, if there's 4, because it sounded like you were gonna double them up.
I was because if you have
You're gonna do
3
6.
10-foot sections, then it would be 6 pipes, two for each
Mhm.
section.
Right. I just thought there'd be some sort of fitting at the top that could accept them, that one pipe would work.
But now you have all these pieces. I feel like it'd get complicated at that point. I felt like I was overcomplicating things.
Right.
That's why we came up with the idea of just doing 3 separate railings,
Mhm.
almost close together. So it was like almost like one railing. There's no gap technically in between,
Yeah.
but it's just sections so you can easily remove them.
I don't know, what do people think about that?
I'm wondering if where you put your sections together with a little bit of movement of either ice or land or earthquake or water or whatever, that you might end up with an area that you could get pinched in between the 2 sections, the way I'm understanding it. That's just a concern. You
That
need to
someone
decide.
could pinch themselves in between the 2 sections.
Between the 2 sections, yeah, if there's a gap there at all. And because there's so many potentials for moving them a little, they
They
may
can come out
lose
of
their...
alignment or something.
But, there may be a way to circumvent that, not an issue.
I'm thinking that if we're not going to be removing it, except in the rare chance that maybe 10 or 15 years from now we want to remove it, the hardware on that's not going to come apart anyway. That you're describing, because you're going to have to.
That is
So why
true.
make it removable?
Maybe down there with a torch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know, you'd like this to be a monument to your scouting
Yeah.
forever,
Mm.
but not everything is forever.
That is true.
And so maybe the next scout will come along and build a new one 20 years from now, just uphill a little bit from yours. We have someone with their hand behind us. Yes.
Just for the viewers, can you explain what the project he's working on?
Oh,
Yeah.
that.
That's probably not a bad idea. So, what I am doing as part of a Boy Scout to become an Eagle Scout as my final step through scouting is to do a community service project to benefit my community, essentially, to benefit the public. What I am doing is building a railing at the the head landing because it's really slippery down there. People trip, they fall. So it'd be help to support, and also like people getting in and out of kayaks and stuff like that. That is what I'm looking to build, and I'm just sort of in the planning process right now of trying to get a good plan going before I start building stuff.
Mhm.
It's basically the quick summary.
Great.
Keep at it.
Looks good.
So I would just think about that collar, because what you're saying now is there'd be one on the outside and then 2 uprights in between. Is that what you're telling us? So it'd be a total of 2, 4, 6 uprights?
Yes, it would be because it would be like 3 sections.
Right.
I never got prints for that
Mhm.
most recent design yet. Otherwise, I'd show you. It'd be kind of you would have.
And how is the upright going to join the railing?
It'd be just like The fittings. It'll be the same exact thing. Those would still be removable. You could take the whole thing apart if you really wanted to. I'm trying to refrain from doing that just because then you're gonna have all these pieces and you're gonna have to put them back
Yeah.
together.
I'm just imagining that somebody makes a fitting, because it's a T, right? The fitting
Yes.
that the pipe slides in, that, because I'm just remembering the fence that go on the way to Cherry and Webb. Those are long pieces of pipe, they're like 25 feet or something. But they connect with each other, and I would think that they could connect inside one of those T fittings at the top of a pipe.
Mm.
So I would think that we don't need that many uprights.
But you're working on a slope though, right?
You are on a slope.
Oh, yeah.
So the T, if the T is horizontal and the slope's
Yeah,
going down, you got a
perpendicular
problem.
Yeah, and it's heavy enough pipe that it's not bendable.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't say it's not bendable.
Really?
You can bend it.
Without collapsing the
If you have
shape of
like a proper machine to do it, you can do it.
But
Okay,
can't you, but you can cut the top of the pipe at an angle, right, to match the slope?
I was just planning on building the whole thing of it. You know, this is an old
Oh.
design,
Huh.
a very old design. But that's dirty. This is all stained. Must have been sitting in my truck or something. But you can see the pipe is the railing is parallel to the
Slope?
slope.
Yeah, so your verticals are not plumb, they're at an angle.
Oh, okay,
So the right angles to the slope.
Yeah.
right.
I get you.
So can I draw on this?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm just imagining that there's a fitting, because you're gonna, this, instead of being, to make it 30 feet.
Yes, this is a very old design. This is not exactly it's not at all what I'm planning. This was my very first design.
Yep. I'm just imagining that those pieces of pipe could just meet inside that T fitting at the top.
That's exactly what it would be doing.
Right. So then you'd only need 3 pipes if there were 3 10-foot sections, 4 pipes.
Problem is you gotta get custom pipe to be that long.
No, for 10-foot sections.
Oh,
Just have have them meet inside that T thing.
but then they wouldn't be 10-foot sections anymore. It would be still all one. Oh, and then take apart at the T fitting. You're saying okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've thought
If
about
you
this
send-
more than we have, so.
If you send someone down, I feel like if you send someone down there who doesn't know anything about the design of this to like say, hey, go remove this really quick.
Mhm.
I feel like it's gonna take them a while to figure that out.
Yeah, I think if it ever
I
happens.
think they're just gonna take the whole railing
Yeah,
right
the
out.
highway
you know?
department's gonna come down with a,
We-
it's gonna rip it out of the ground. But
It
I
would
think
be
it's-
nice if it would
Be
go
like a
back in,
Rubik's
if
Cube.
they did take it out,
Yes.
you know, that.
Because
Not bent up with
Keep it
the
simple.
Yeah.
forks.
But I think that, I mean, the weather, the salt water,
Right. I
pipes
was just-
inside of pipes, it's gonna be there.
I was yeah.
It's not gonna come out.
It's not gonna
Okay.
come out.
All right.
Kiss that
The
one goodbye.
reality is, it's not coming
So
out.
then what I'll probably do is I'll get pipes in the ground, driven in the ground, 4 of them, and then make the railing all whole with the 4 pipes.
Yeah, and if it's hard to get pipe that's 30 feet long, although I think that's available, but I
I
don't
think
know.
that would be.
Transporting everybody.
That is another thing that's transportation. That's why 10 feet would
Yeah.
be.
But if,
But I can make it 10 feet sections with the T
yeah, just
handles.
meet
the
in the
T.
T. Yeah, just
Yeah.
meet in the T and maybe probably put a screw in it to sort of make sure things don't move.
Oh no, we transported Ethan's mast. That's like a 25-foot mast all the way from the rescue here. Huh?
That's heavy.
I'm not saying it's impossible.
I'm just saying it's making life easier.
Why don't you work on this
Yes.
and get back to us? But I think we're close.
we're close.
Just so we don't necessarily have to have a full meeting, if we get drawings from Mike and I circulate those, can we approve those via email?
Yes,
Could I have a motion to that effect?
if we receive, yes, second,
Yeah.
if we receive, I have to write this, right? If we receive detailed plans circulated to the commission members. We will honor a
Email.
email approval.
Yes.
To start construction. Sweet.
All in favor?
Aye.
What's your building schedule? What are you expecting? for
I
building
need this
schedule?
project completely in the ground and done by February 6th.
And you certainly want to be
And you
done
probably don't
before
want to
that.
do it.
Yes, that is like the absolute, yeah. I
How
need
about, how
to-
about July 4th? Anybody can use it this summer.
That would be really nice,
I
but
know,
it's,
Is
so
that
let's-
your
Let's
18th
keep
birthday?
going.
that is my 18th birthday.
You want to be done before that.
I
You
think
need, you got to get your paperwork in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, definitely. I'm just saying,
I haven't.
I can get the
My
paperwork
son's
started.
legal. You
I-
need to be done before
Yeah,
then.
definitely. No, I'm just saying I could get the paperwork started and sent out like the day before that. Yeah, I mean, it's not saying that's never been done before, so
Well, why don't you get some very soon if it's possible, get it up for this summer, that'd be great.
it would be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So I'll get started on my next design.
Yeah, because it's gonna take some level of beating in the winter, so it'd be sort of silly to put it up in the fall
Right.
and then not use it for 8 months, but that's where we end up, that's where we end up.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you.
Good job.
Head Landing, I think they did a nice job mowing most recently.
They have been on it for mowing, I don't know if they
Yeah,
hired an
looks
extra
good.
person or what.
I don't.
Somebody that likes to mow anyway.
Yep.
They've had the weather working with them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would like to send them a thank you because I think they rarely get officially
On our
thanked.
official letterhead,
Yes,
They have-
we have letterhead.
I've never seen.
I'll show you my letterhead. Maybe. Where's my letterhead? Anyhow, there is, oh yeah, letterhead. So, Hicksbridge Landing update. We have drawn up a drawing of what's required to get an easement to use the exit. And we also have a second design plan of what would happen if we couldn't get the easement, which dramatically reduces the usage of the landing. So we're in the process of getting a lawyer, town lawyer, to draw that up. First, there'll be a meeting with Jim Hartnett and someone from the Masons and myself and whoever else wants to come to that meeting to just hash out the details of that.
So they're interested in negotiating.
We have not had another conversation for 8 weeks, but yeah, because we're still using it now. And it'd be,
Right. So wouldn't we want to determine that they're interested in discussing it at least before we hire a lawyer?
Actually, the lawyer said to go, have the meeting with them first. And then, so we're
Oh, and
actually going to
then-
meet with them
and-
first.
okay,
And
okay.
find out
So that'll
what
establish
kind of
hopefully.
demands they have and go from there. So things are moving along. And then Jim Hartnett would like to involve the town planner in this process because he's very busy and I don't know all the details of how these kind of contracts go on. So I will be going out of town next week, but when I get back, I will meet with the town planner just to get
Yeah,
those
that's a good
people up
idea.
to date so they can follow the paperwork for us and stuff. That's all I know about that. I have once again called Officer Kuto and not heard back from him about parking on the west side of Hicks Bridge. I did see somebody using the park recently, and that was encouraging. Someone was just having their own little picnic there. Horseneck Landing needs to be regraded. Do we even need to make an issue about it being beach permit parking, or can we just leave it be the way it is?
It's nowhere near as bad as Hicks Bridge.
What do
Hicks
you mean?
Bridge exit is, somebody's gonna end up losing their bumpers or a little bit more than their bumpers, I think, coming
Gully
in and out of
washers?
there. Oh, yeah, the last rain, it was bad before,
Oh, you
but
mean the cavity at the exit?
not just
Hicks
at
Bridge.
the exit, there's one at the entrance, and then the whole roadway up, it's got probably 8-inch deep gullies in it.
I know
From
I
last
did,
weekend's rain?
yeah, I did drive
It's
very
gotten
carefully
worse,
around those
yeah.
holes. So I will,
Yeah, that's
Uh,
horrendous. And then when you get up to the road, unless you go way off to the west,
so we're back on
You'll
number 4.
lose
So
the
I
rest
will
of your
call
muffler on
Highway
that.
and ask them to fill those holes with something.
yeah, it's much worse than
Either
horse.
that or graded or something, yeah.
Well, they maybe can take some of the rocks from Horse Neck and put them in the holes at Hicks Bridge.
I don't know that they have the
Uh,
right tool to do it, but maybe
do-
we should even hire someone. But it's not our landing, so.
Yeah, it's not even, that is, none of that, Hicks Bridge is really our responsibility at the moment.
Right.
So,
I was gonna say, we're regrading somebody else's land.
oh, that part, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But I think that's.
Just making it safe. Do a
Yeah.
quick job to get it
Right.
safe for vehicles.
So on number 6, do people have any issue about that continuing to be beach permit parking that seems to work for the town, and now that they've reopened the causeway, the public can use the parking? And the neighborhood was certainly
It
happy.
worked before, right?
It's been working for the last couple of years.
If it's been working,
I
let's
motion we let it continue.
I think
stick with it.
a lot of people in town like having that as overflow parking.
I got a question, just a curiosity thing. That, the Horse Neck Landing, when you go north of it, back towards John Reed Road, the
Yeah.
storms have really come up to the blacktop almost in the road.
When you
It's
go.
really got narrow, yeah. Is that all north of the town landing, or is town landing go into that area?
Oh, where the blacktop is not.
Where the
not-
erosion from the storms is up to the edge
So-
of the road,
Right, so between the trailers and the landing is sort of what you're saying?
yeah. Is any of that
I-
town landing?
Yeah, well, I will mention that to
think-
Highway also.
Because somebody's gotta fix that somewhere. The next big storm, that's gonna breach the road.
With,
You won't have a road to drive up towards the causeway or our parking area.
So,
with the causeway closed indefinitely, do you think there's probably gonna be
no,
more?
it's open now.
It's open, it's open.
Oh, they did reopen it already
Yeah.
after they made that big.
There
We're
was-
we're just
there
one
was a
storm
big
short
bit
of
of a
no road
push.
going over it.
Yeah, I spoke with
Won't get
this
to the cross.
senator, and it was just like, this is
You won't
so.
get to the town landing. Like,
So what you're talking about is right at the border of the causeway?
yeah, if you go down John Reed Road and take a right to the causeway,
John Reed Road, so I'm confused.
that
about
goes by the
roads.
State Beach.
Yeah,
State Beach Road, whatever you want to call it.
all right.
The original road was John Reed
They
Road.
wrote, yeah, it's not 88.
West Beach Road.
Are you talking
Yeah.
about right before the monument? Right before you get onto the causeway?
No,
No.
back. Just take the right
Across
at
from
the lifeboat station over there.
yeah,
Right, okay, so you're just talking about where
The
there's,
the north side of the town landing. Where Danny's Reef used to be, the
Yeah.
lease land, da-da-da-da-da.
Right. yeah,
All right, on the north side, my question is how far the town landing goes to the north? And is it get up into that area where the erosion is right up to the road now? Because one more storm, if they don't do something there, you're not gonna have a road to get to town landing
right.
or a road to get to the
Okay.
causeway.
Yeah,
That's my
That's where I
point.
thought you were talking. So I
That's my
think that
point.
there is still an order of conditions. The highway, that basically is road maintenance, because all of that is in what's called the layout.
Yeah,
So yeah, the highway department can, if they have, the people can go fix that somehow. How, that's up to them.
what do you think? So it must be town road, right?
Yeah, it would be in the
Yeah.
road layout.
that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the layout typically extends 8 to 10 feet on either side of the asphalt. So, yeah.
I didn't catch an official motion or a seconder for the using the town beach as, Horse Neck Point Landing as a beach pass
I'll second it.
location.
No, I didn't
first
think
did
we
it?
were voting on that. We were
We're
just
not
sort of
voting
letting
on
it
it?
slide.
I'm just saying if it
what
worked
if
before,
I put in the
let it keep
minutes?
working.
There was
slid
discussion,
in,
there
we
was
slid in
discussion,
that.
there was discussion about,
After discussion, there was a yes.
You've been over
There you
there, Brian?
Just
You've
happened.
been along that area of the road I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We all
I'm
agree
trying to
to
make the
ignore it.
minutes
Come right
simple,
up to
so
the
the
blacktop.
simplest thing is a
Just-
motion and a
just
second.
Discussion. All right,
And that'll have my
Adamsville
own
Landing, anybody taken a look at it recently?
I drove by it this afternoon on the way back.
Did you go down?
From the road, no, from the road.
You didn't
It was
drive
there.
down?
I see
It
a
was there.
handful of boats on moorings.
Okay.
And
I
the
had,
landing itself, I couldn't see.
I had mentioned that we thought a donor who was gonna donate money because they're being required by the state to do something for the people of the state in order to build a bigger dock into the river. And he thought they were gonna give us money to make signs for Adamsville Landing and the other ones, but now the state said that's not enough. So he's gonna buy Moby mats or something for Horseneck State Beach. So we're back into the sign world ourselves.
Could we ask them to make bigger signs?
We should be making a list of things that we could use, because that's gonna continue to happen. People need bigger docks to go with their bigger boats.
Yep.
So we should be thinking about that.
Speaking of which, about Adamsville Landing, on my way home from the Mission Burn the other day, I just drove in and I guess missed those big potholes at the Hicksbridge Landing and noticed that there was a woman taking her kayak out at the boat ramp at Hicksbridge. And I just sort of said hello because I'm always looking for people who use the river a lot, thinking they might want to be on the landing commission, or one of you people at home. I spoke with her. Turns out she was from Boston, and she was come down here by herself. And I was like, oh, why did you come here? And she said, well, I found it on gopaddling.com. And on the phone app, and I was like, oh. And she said that the other one looked like windy and maybe not so good down at the state boat ramp. And so that was interesting to see. So I went, when I got home, and put the app on my phone and have now updated Adamsville and some of these other places because now we are on the map and people are coming from all over.
Do they list it as a permit required?
Yeah.
I have changed the listing, so now, I mean, she said, yeah, I saw the sign, but online it didn't say it was permit required. There weren't a lot of people here. I said, yeah, I'm not gonna give you a ticket, but in summertime you might get a ticket. And I didn't show her my badge. So it now says permit required at Hicksbridge. But this goes along with putting signs up. I mean, we are now, I mean, I guess it shows the things on a map on your phone. It takes you right to the landing. So we're not gonna stop some eager one. And to some extent, they're members of the public. They certainly have a right to the water. But
I heard the fine was only $25, so it's a pretty cheap outing for the day if you live in Boston. So-
Yep. Yeah. So that's going on, so I guess we should just, again, go back to the sign world, and I will try to get a quote on signs from the sign company. And just the same size as the ones at Hicks. I did notice that that one has faded a little bit, the one we put up at Hicksbridge, so I might have them
very
put some,
readable.
yeah,
It
UV
looks nice.
coating or
I like
something.
it. I like this already.
I'm gonna jump back to something here that I was just looking at. You didn't, on headlanding, we discussed the railing, but not Porta-John access or the submerged tree.
Ah,
The tree's gone.
I floated the tree, dragged it up the ramp, and the highway department came with a chainsaw and stuff and took it away.
Nice.
I had fun. It's sort of a Huck Finn thing.
And
It
is
was
the-
Richie's suggestion. I was doing something way more complicated, and there were 5 large floating balls at the harbor master's office, and I tied those to it. It floated enough that I could drag it up the ramp, and then, yeah. And the porta-john is installed. What we started doing at the end of last year was giving a key to to the watershed so that during the week, they would open it in the morning and close it at night. So they're willing to do that, and I think it would be.
was the kayak shop that did it last year.
The kayak shop is only open 2 or 3 days a week. So if they do the weekends and the watershed does the week, I think, let's just see how it goes and go with that. Unfortunately, to keep the price the same, they need to clean it on a schedule, and their Westport cleaning schedule is Mondays. So we'll just see what it looks like for the weekend, and I would think if the kayak shop really insists that it be cleaner, they could maybe get a hose from the watershed or something and hose it down or something. But we'll just have to see if it survives, because it did fine on one cleaning a week. I think because it's in a fenced enclosure, it's not completely obvious to the world. Is that enough on the head landing? I mean, the head, thank you for, I have pictures of the tree.
Can you bird it and make a dugout?
No. Well, you should have seen that tree on the truck. It was like this big around, not the one I did. Little tree. All right, so I'll pursue signage also for Emma Tripp. The annual lease renewals. Here we are. I'll get those out, people. Along with the letter on our letterhead. If you'd ever like to send something to someone on letterhead, I can send you. Interestingly, there's actually paper letterhead that I found in the files that looked like it was 40 or 50 years old, and it's sort of yellowed. Speaking of files, while I was looking for documentation about Hicks Bridge, I spent a long time with our filing cabinets and realized that I haven't put anything in the file cabinets in 2 or 3 years. And that Lucy Tabba used to do that kind of thing for us. And it's occurred to me to reach out to someone and pay them to consider doing some administrative work for us. And I spoke with Jim Hartnett about that, about what the hiring process would be. He said, see if you can find someone, and then they would probably need to be appointed by the Board of Selectmen, but because we would pay them and not the town, because we have the money, then it doesn't have to go through a whole personnel board thing, apparently. Although I know there was some complication about how Lucy was paid, but I realize I shouldn't be doing this without adult supervision. It's not good. I mean, it took me a long time just to find what we agreed to as far as lease increases. I don't think it'll be a lot of hours.
We're gonna put them in timeout.
Okay.
What do people think about that? Because you're busy with your work, and I think also, I know I don't expect to be in the Landing Commission forever, and I know some of you don't expect to be in the Landing Commission forever, because I talked you all into this based on one or two terms, and I think it would be good just for the continuity if someone else sort of knew what was going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, having good records here is important. Are we looking at just somebody to come in and do something get us back to being organized with the current stuff, and then
Like bringing forward the leases in time that we can discuss and then get them out.
Yeah, I just someone to,
Doing
we would
minutes.
create a schedule. I'm not sure the person would have to be at these meetings. I mean, Lucy used to be at these meetings and do the minutes, and then remind some of us elder folk about, you need to take care of this. Just the same way you mentioned about this, that, and that. I'm not sure they would have to be here, because if they helped me or the future chair with the agenda, then folks like you can say, hey, what about this that you didn't cover? So they wouldn't have, but they could be here and do minutes too. So I will look for someone. And whatever the rate is. Actually, there was an established rate that Lucy was paid.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea of how many hours a week, or what are you talking about?
I would think meet once a month, maybe 4 hours a month. Not a lot of hours. I mean,
I
part of it,
wonder if we could find out how much time Lucy
yeah.
was carrying for
Yeah,
that.
I mean, part of it
She
is,
was
for
pretty
example,
efficient, so.
this kind of thing comes in the mailbox. I'm not checking this mail every week. And so it would be useful for someone, particularly if they already were in this building
I never get up here.
occasionally, to open this, scan it, and send us a copy of it and say, do you care about this? Just all those little kinds of things. Someone disciplined. So, we're open to that idea? I'll
Yeah, we're open
see
to
what I
it.
can find.
Pursue
I'll
it.
put my thinking cap on too.
Okay.
Put an APB out.
Yeah, you know, the players, so
Yeah, I know someone.
somebody might want to.
What are you typically doing once a month about this time?
Recording our meetings.
Yeah. Ah, see, she's smiling. She knows already in her workings. Wow.
My first job was, well, no, not my first job, my second job was a fire clerk at an insurance company. So
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with file cabinets.
Speaking of mail showing up, occasionally these things come in. This is a butter notification from someone that lives across East Beach Road from Emmett Landing to push the cobble off the trailer lot to within 10 feet of mean high water. Grading will allow cars and trailers to blah, blah, blah. And so I'm fine with this, although I must say I actually know this person, but everybody else at East Beach, I guess, has had to file these things so they can fix after the storm. This is the same thing we're gonna be doing at the Horseneck Landing because of all the cobble there. Similarly, I got a similar one. The property owner that owns property just south of Adamsville Landing has a grandfathered lot that she would like to develop and sell. And
Kathy Turner.
yes,
Kathy Turner.
yeah, and I spoke with Comcom about it, and they said, yep, you were required to be notified as an abutter, which is great that we're being notified about these things, because in my first 10 years in the Landing Commission, these never came to us. But he said there's nothing you can really do about it.
Right. The only thing that we can do is make sure that they know where the line is on any of these, so that we don't.
Right.
Boundary line.
Yeah, I think that given what we've gone through now, that's pretty well defined. And there's a stone wall
I
there.
was gonna say that one.
Yep.
Is there? Okay.
Yep. Yep. All right. Number 10 is always encourage you, if you see someone who's an active user of the river and the landings, to think about becoming a landing commissioner, come to some meetings, think about it. Sort of thinking about that Boy Scout that was here earlier. Some young people would be good.
I was just gonna say, it would be good to get somebody young involved on some of these things.
I wonder if there's an age limit,
18, it's an elected position.
so he couldn't do it till February, but
Right.
next year's election, that would be good.
Hmm.
Or maybe he knows somebody who wants to be an Eagle Scout for next time.
They wouldn't be old enough.
That would be.
Have to be Eagle, make Eagle before
Isn't it
18.
like Super Eagle Scout or something?
There actually is.
Hey, how about a grandfathered one?
Grandson one.
All right, I think we're awaiting the minutes of the previous meeting, so other business not anticipated at the time of posting, I have nothing. Does anyone else have anything?
Just a quick question.
Motion to adjourn?
Yep, no.
Just a quick one. I noticed that they dug a trench down at the Point Landing,
Oh, yeah.
and we had 2 inches of rain, and I didn't see any puddles. The
Oh,
only puddle was under the Harbor Master Shellfish parking
good.
area. But as far as the main parking lot and all that, it looks good.
mhm. Right, as people, I'm not sure, so the public will know, they had to do final paving.
No, it's not final yet.
I know we had to do, but
Right,
then in
yeah.
negotiation with the abutter to the north, the Packagug Inn, she's been complaining about water in her basement coming off the landing. So what we did in the gravel roadway, after we removed the
Shrubbery.
ornamental grasses, dug a trench about 2 feet wide, 2 feet deep, filled it with gravel that connects to the storm drain. And that seems to help. What they also found, surprisingly, was that gravel driveway
And tar under it.
is actually asphalt. And so that's really part of why she gets water in her basement. It just, yeah.
So the trench connects, the water goes west
Yeah,
into the catch basin, and then the catch basin drains, must be on the
Yeah.
other side of the road into the river.
Yeah,
under the Harbor Master
Yeah.
shaft. That's where it drains.
right. So I think after they pave and stripe, we'll still probably want to consider pavers, maybe right at the edge of that trench or something,
Mm-hmm.
because it won't exactly be clear. I mean, on the other side, it's clear because it's lawn.
Right.
And the lawn kind of bumps up higher than the asphalt, I think. So I still think we may be in the paver world.
Yep.
Thank you for reminding us about that. Appreciate your input. Next meeting date.
Sounds good to me.
Next
Oh, I ran out of ink, so there's no more minutes.
We'll go for hours.
Next meeting date. So, could be June 20th.
Okay, borrow your pen, Brian.
How's June 20th for people?
I might be around then. It's a good possibility.
As good as any, sounds good to me.
Is
Does it
4:30
work for
still
you,
okay?
Brian?
Works for me.
Yeah, let's go.
4:30,
Yep.
June 20th. All right. All right. And so I'm going now to June 20th. Really?
It's a Tuesday, I take it.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you all.
We get a motion to adjourn?
To adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, aye, aye.